everybody, welcome to the Game Junkie Show, episode 6. And today we're talking about gaming journalism. I'm super, super, super happy for these guests today. I got the GOAT, Bulky. I got Alex.
Yo!
And the beautiful Julia.
Hello.
And today I really wanted to talk about journalism just because so much of it is under fire. There's questionable practices. We pander to a lot of toxic behavior. There's rumor mill reporting, but there's still a lot of beauty in journalism. So what's really cool about today is Alex is actually a journalist in Sweden who works for a gaming publication. Boki, as some of you know, is a literature major, and Julia is an avid literature lover and a huge reader. So I thought this was the perfect audience. So Alex, why don't you kind of kick it off and tell us a bit about journalism from your perspective and what you think of kind of the negative practices.
Yeah, okay. So, I'm writing mostly reviews for a very small Swedish website called Loading. Like the first thing that I want to talk about is like the structure of reviews in general. I think talking about reviews, like a lot of people think about Metacritics, for example, Metacritics and scores in general, and not so much about the actual written text. And that's something that we've seen a lot for the like 10, 15 years. Like it's just accelerating in that direction, which for some reason diminishes the work of a reviewer, in my opinion. And like it's a little bit sad. Like there's a lot of talent that's like they're trying to write something really good from their heart, like about this game, and instead of like focusing on the text, a lot of people just focus on the score and focus on the like average on Metacritics or Open Critic, and miss a lot of the points, because a score is such a hard thing to add to a game. Like we don't have scores on our site because it just feels weird to add a score, because it doesn't have to reflect on the actual thing that I've written. It just feels like I'm adding something just to add something, basically. And I prefer to have the words be, "This is my review," and I don't want the score to be my review. And I think that's a bit of a problem with today. Like a lot of consumers, they go to Metacritics, they go to the summary of a page review, and they just read the like 3-4 sentences, and then they read the review score, and then that's it. They don't consume the actual review, and then of course we have fanboys that take these reviews even further, like just push these scores and like, oh, this game just got 60 and this game got 90, so it's better. I mean, that's not how experiences work, in my opinion. Like I love a lot of games that people don't rate highly. Like I'm one of the few people, it feels like, that like the Mighty Number 9, the Mega Man-esque game from Ifune. Like I think that's a really good evolution of Mega Man, but the score on like Metacritics, for example, would be very low. And if you just check the score, you don't get you miss the point that's being made in the reviews.
That's such a good point. I didn't even think about that. Now I don't ever want to use numbers again. Julia, What are your thoughts? Because I know you're really passionate about the review space in journalism.
Right. So I think that what he brought up was a really good point with, like, you're deducing a whole game that people have spent years and blood, sweat, and tears to a number, and you're not going the extra mile to see what they have to say, and you're just looking at the number. But another thing that I wanted to talk about with journalism is, I guess, a little bit more transparency with the critic as a person, because people have different tastes, and that is totally okay. But how much does someone's personal bias affect their scoring? can they, with an unbiased mind, can they review something fairly? And if they can't, they need to be open about that and say, I'm not really a fan of platformers, but I reviewed this platform game. So take that as you will with a grain of salt. But like they said, it's like they don't really take the time to actually read the review and read about the person making the review. They care more about numbers. So
I agree. I agree with that, like with the transparency. I think it's very important to be as transparent as you can be. Like that's something I notice a lot with one of my favorite genres, which is fighting games. I really
know.
noticed, like it's so obvious when a person hasn't been playing fighting games before, or they haven't, like they're not that good at it or whatever. You can notice that in how they talk about the fighting games, and like for some people story in fighting games don't matter. Most people that play fighting games, story doesn't matter, and that becomes like such a focal point on a lot of reviews. And I like that's why it's important to read the review as well. Like some fighting games get so low score because of the story, but if you actually read the review and you can see, okay, the story is at fault here, but the actual gameplay is quite fun and good. Maybe this will still be a game for me, but if the score is low and that's all you care about, then you will probably miss out on something that might be for you. But yeah, I agree. Transparency is always good. Like if this is something you usually play or something that you can, like, how far in the game did you come? Like, did you play it multiple times? Did you complete it fully, or did you just like complete the story? Where did you spend your time, basically?
I like how you said, oh, I'm so sorry.
Continue.
I like how you said, where do you spend your time? Because some people, they want to get through the gameplay, the campaign as soon as possible. But then there are people that are more detail oriented. They care about every little thing. And I'm one of those people. I have to read every book I find. I have to search every corner. I have to know every NPC, and it's like, how good are the NPC encounters? How good are the side quests? So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do that too, but like Last of Us 2 is a narrative game, right? The much of the purpose of that game was to tell a story through that medium that you couldn't tell with that kind of emotion anywhere else. It had great combat, it had all this other stuff. But when I play a game like Sackboy, what a fun, great platformer. Yeah, it's got a story, but that's not a narrative based game. So I can't say, well, this gets a lower score because it doesn't have the depth of the story. So it's really different things. So looking at it kind of objectively in real perspective of what it really is and judging it fairly without bias is, I guess, for some people, maybe a really hard thing to do.
I agree with you. There's different focus points on every game that's being made. Like every developer has, this is our focus. And I think sometimes it's very obvious. Like Sackboy, it's very obvious that the story it's there to just keep you going further. It's not a story-based game. It's the gameplay that is the main focal point. And I think, of course, it's good still to talk about the story, but like if you for some reason have point system, I don't think it's fair to judge that game based on the story as much as the gameplay. I think that it's an important distinction between the game there.
Yeah. Okay, what do you think?
I wanted to talk about different things. One of them being like the difference between games criticism as a form of writing, like an art form, and consumer like information. Some outlets have like a focus on making you like giving you information to make a good purchase. Like, is this game for you? Is it worth the money? While other critics that I read and appreciate. Many of them write almost like an essay of sorts, where they talk about what you said, like Crystal, what the game really is, without the biases. It doesn't have to do with like the how much cost. And I've seen that trend happening with several outlets now that we've seen a price hike that have a price point in their review criteria, which instantly turns that review into like only information in a way, and less of the art of criticism. So that's something I want to talk about, but I also want to talk about like the rumor mill and the clickbait and the way journalism works today, so that it's profitable. I want to like challenge that and see, is there other ways we can do it, and can we as a community help the outlets in different ways, maybe by changing our culture and how we consume this stuff. Like, what can we do to make our experience of games journalism more positive, and what can we do to lift these people that are passionate about writing about games and talking about games come to the forefront, instead of these stupid rumors and people like Jeff Grubb and I mean real serious writers.
Yeah.
Can you believe Forbes? Forbes quoted him. Forbes.
Seriously.
No, I
I
didn't see
swear
that.
to you, it popped up because like if anything
No.
gaming related, my phone goes beep, 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 and I was like, oh, Forbes is talking about Starfield at Jeff Grubbs. Like we
But
don't.
that,
Yeah, but a lot of those news outlets, they try to find sensational, controversial people because it gets views, it gets clicks.
Yeah.
People want to hear about people that are more controversial rather than actually good content. They
Yeah.
don't.
Well, it's
Sometimes they don't care about that.
well, it's profit based, and being a person in the marketing industry, I have so much to say about this because I feel like it's the fault of marketers that created this format. I feel like
Yeah.
journalism and even a lot of search engine optimization and content marketing suffers from truth decay, because what
Yeah.
we've done is we've made opinion based content that appeals to people's emotion rather than appealing to factual logic. And we did that in marketing a lot. It's
Yeah.
it's good when you're marketing to cater to people's emotions. I mean, that's kind of, look at Vegas. If you've ever been to Vegas, that entire place is completely designed to override your impulse control, and everything about
Yeah.
it from a marketing perspective did that so brilliantly. You know, like the SPCA, when Sarah McLachlan's on there holding that little dog with one eye, and you're like, like, oh my God, take my money. That emotional connection is really good and important, but people have manipulated that and misused it. And I feel like that's why we're at where we're at, is because that's what makes money, and it's our fault because consumers are freaking consumer, and
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to it.
I mean, that's something we've seen in the gaming industry as well with the influencers. Like, as a marketing pole, instead of doing traditional marketing, a lot of marketing is going through influencers, and they get a lot of views. And I think a lot of people see that, and they see, how do we compete against these influencers and these content creators on YouTube or Twitch or whatever, that get like, they get the same things that we used to get. Like, they get the games, they can play the game, they can stream the game, and they are basically the marketing of our decade, and
Yeah.
it will continue like that. And I think there's a war basically behind the scenes between that. Like, how do we compete against people that are getting all the attention and from the fan base, from people that like games, and I think for some reason the turn has been putting people like in the forefront and having them constantly be a part of all discussions, no matter if they know about it or whatever. Like, if there's a rumor, you should be there. That's basically it, right. You should be in the forefront of that. And you can see that with, of course, Jeff Grubb. You can see that with a lot of other like personalities on the internet, like Twitter or whatever.
And that can also turn into like a form of a telephone game, kind of like if you hear a rumor and then people make assumptions and then they post about those assumptions that they have and they're like, oh, that must be true. And it just
Yeah.
spins out of control.
But it's effective. That's the thing. It's very effective. So what we see with Starfield, for instance, we have people like you were talking about Vegas, Crystal. We have real gamblers like Jeff Grubb. They know some stuff, but sometimes I think they just throw out stuff like Starfield is coming 2021, and the fan base reacts to that. And some people think that this guy has a lot of like I don't know credibility because he's been right about stuff. So that in itself makes people believe that 2021 that's when Starfield will release, and it's like it's almost official. That's the worst
Yeah.
part. And
Yeah.
then someone else said, no, 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 this game doesn't release in 2021. It's the development is shaky or something, maybe 2022. And we have a game that's like it hasn't even been no release date has been announced. No one knows what the game is except the title, and we have the game is trending, and
Yeah.
it's a bit funny because you know the Xbox guys and Todd and everyone was like sitting there and talking about this, and they started laughing, and Todd said like, yo, it's got a lot of hype for a game nobody knows anything about.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm
that's that's really playing into the way our social media works,
Yeah.
almost masterly. It is a bit dirty play in my opinion, and I think that like if you're sitting at like Xbox marketing or PlayStation marketing, you are thinking about these kind of strategies all the time
Yeah.
and utilizing them.
Yeah, and I wanted to add on to both of your points as far as like influencers go. I'm just trying to think about ways that we can make this better. You know, not just sitting and talking about it, but like what can we personally do to make it better? And I think that us as consumers, to be smart consumers, we need to hold these influencers accountable.
Yeah.
You know, I think that we can use influencers as a really great tool, you know, because they're an outside source that uh, may or may not be for profit, we don't know, but we can hold them accountable and ask them to write honest reviews. Hate to say honest reviews because all these people are like, well, this is the honest review, as if no,
Yeah.
this is the dishonest review, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
But all reviews should be honest. But
Yeah. I mean, the worst is when they actually put this is an honest review. Like, just shut up and write the
just
review.
write the review.
I just don't
Serious.
care if it's what the hell. Don't put honest in there. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Right.
You're dishonest the rest of the time.
Yeah.
Right.
What the hell?
I think the biggest thing that we can do, I mean, there are so many there are millions of creators on the planet, people who are streaming, people who I upload to YouTube like 50 billion times a day. You would think I don't have a job, probably, that I'm someone who's based. Like, there's so many people that write on their own blogs, that do their own review. Support those people. Find the people that don't get sucked into that toxicity, that don't, like Boki, who tries to show you their groin in the middle of a Zoom meeting.
Yeah. What
Find
the
the
hell?
like,
I'm
support
not going. I'm looking for my beer opener, because
support
you're the
those.
second one.
Yeah, support the smaller content creators. Get yourself. I have a clique on Twitter. I have a fucking amazing group of people. I don't follow big influencers. I don't watch a lot of. I focus on people like you guys, like people that think like me, that don't want to get sucked into the toxicity, that aren't saying things for any kind of intent except to say this is my passion and it's something that I like to do. So support more of those smaller people. And like Julia said, be a smart consumer. If you read the horoscopes in a paper, they're going to be right part of the time. And that's kind of like how, I don't know how much these people know. So if they say it, okay, they say it. It's a grain of salt. It's just like saying, I'm a Sagittarius and oh my God, I did take a crap today. Like, does this person know me? So it's kind
Yeah,
of like,
yeah,
you know, just use, just be a little, maybe have a little more intent as a consumer in what you're supporting, because we are all influencers. If you
Yeah,
speak online, you're an influencer, and remember, you
yeah.
have that power.
I
absolutely.
agree.
I
Yeah.
love that. You know, do
Right.
remember you have power. I love that.
You
Yeah,
do. I mean, you're saying every one of you guys. I mean, I see what you say, and other people see what you say, and even if somebody doesn't react, somebody somewhere is paying attention to what you say, and it's affecting them in some way. So just
yeah.
Yeah.
What I've noticed about social media, I've been using social media for ages. But what I've noticed recently is that of all my years of experience using like Facebook and whatever, the influence you have in affecting and creating a culture is amazing. It's huge, actually. You can change stuff. It's just that usually people don't challenge things. So if you're a person that does challenge stuff in a respectful way, if you can,
Yeah.
you can inspire others to do that, and it will change their behavior and thinking about things. Like we take many things for granted, the way like truths, but suddenly someone speaks out and says, "Yeah, this this thing isn't really like." It's weird we are doing this thing. It's weird that we are following these people like Jeff Grubb or whatever, and believing in everything they say and thinking that this somehow is like an official confirmation. If we start talking about that stuff, maybe people will like, yeah, uh, change their perspective on that,
would you
making their
guys,
power less impactful.
that makes sense. So would you guys agree in saying that media as a whole, right, all forms of content essentially are influential?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if
Yes.
you take this
Of
way
course.
past gaming journalism, is it safe to say, without having a niche industry, it's really a for-profit business? So we have to remember, if I think about media, it makes me think of street drugs and pharmaceuticals, because I don't know any other industry where we call a consumer a user.
Yeah.
I can't think of
That's
any,
true.
like, you
That's
are
true.
a user. Remember that you are a user. Just like when you pop a prescription from your
Yeah, yeah,
doctor, or you go to, like,
yeah, true.
we're users. So we keep that in mind, because it is a for-profit industry. I mean, does that make sense to you guys?
It makes sense to me. And there is actually, I have an anecdote about this. Swedish elder care. We call people in Swedish elder care users, and this happened like during the last 10 years as our like government became more right wing. We
Yeah,
changed our terminology for people that use our social services and elder care, and talked about them as brukare, which means users.
yeah,
Missbruk is a form of drug addiction.
yeah. It's very
So
weird.
we're seeing this happen in like a lot of different areas, not just marketing, but even all the way to elder care.
Yeah,
But, you know, I feel like this call for accountability and this divorce from toxicity, you know, people are having a really vitriol reaction I've seen lately online to a lot of the toxicity that goes on, and people are doing their part in changing where we're going, you know, in the gaming sphere. And I love that. It feels like it's been a long time coming. Like we've been discussing back and forth about
Yeah.
game journalism, holding journalists accountable, trying to change things as consumers. And I think that we are in the right direction because we do have power as
Yeah.
users or as, people who are part of the gaming community.
Yeah.
The interesting part is like every time something goes in one direction, there's always space for new people to come up to take the space that is left. Like if like EGN or whatever starts to go more and more towards the influencer direction, and like you said, be more about consumer knowledge. Like this game costs $70, so blah 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 blah. Then there's always a space for other people to grow, to take that part.
Yeah.
So that's the interesting part. Like every time you leave something, there's always space for others to take that part.
And a lot of people, they feel discouraged for making content that can change the way people see things, gaming content, because they think that they're small, because they
Yeah.
think,
Yeah, true.
well, why would anybody care about my opinion? I'm just a nobody. I'm just a Jane Doe or whatever. But it's
Yeah.
like you have so much power. And you know what? Even though you may think that there are a million people out there with the same opinion as me, it doesn't matter. You can put your own personal flair on things. Your opinion matters. Even if it's the same opinion as somebody else, you just have to find your personal voice in it.
which is why we have this show.
Yeah.
To me,
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that the toxic people really are smaller in number. They're just really loud. And I think the healthier, more positive community has really been afraid to vocalize because they know that usually comes with that.
Yeah.
Do you think that the majority are just deciding, hey, we're going to become more vocal too? Do you think that majority has decided we're going to make content more, we're going to get vocal more, we're going to kind of divorce, right, from the toxicity? Do you think that that's the trend? Is that's what's happening more?
Yeah. I've noticed it in like the way people react to the conceptualized stuff that we haven't done before, like the blue check mark people, for instance. There are a lot of great people with blue check marks, but we have noticed certain trends when interacting with them, when questioning people that have those blue check marks, and how they react to the community and how they like diminish our voice and constantly like try to in a way fight us with some kind of vitriol by holding us back and not taking part in the conversation. So people are fed up with how gaming journalism and journalism is how it is right now, and don't want it. So they are using their voice, and some of them aren't like the best at using them. Like they're maybe a bit toxic too.
Yeah.
But we can actually create a way to make our voices heard in a more respectful way, I think. And that's when you see, because when you're respectful and these people still block you or throw you out of the conversation or even ridicule you or whatever, that's when you see that there's something crazy or strange with this system, and it's happening all the time. Like
Yeah.
Jason, for instance, he's a great journalist, but he blocks people all the time for the minuscule things.
I mean, the problem with that is it's not just that he blocks people, or like in general that these people just block people. It's that they use like systems like blockchains. So they go into a person and they block every person that follows that person, even if they are like not they're not following that person. They're not hating on for example, Jason or whatever. They're just blocking everyone that's following. So they're like minimizing their web of like interactions and just making it smaller and smaller.
That's
So it
wild to
becomes
me. Like
becomes
people
like
that
an
you don't
echo
even
chamber.
know, just
Yeah,
assuming that. Because here's the thing. You can disagree with somebody and still be friends with them, and that's a
yeah,
thing that people they ignore. That like we
yeah.
can disagree. Like Boki and I don't think The Last of Us 2's box art's that great, but he loves it. You
It's
know
not
what?
that great.
That's
It's
okay.
not that great.
It's not that
It's all
great. The
right. It's
composition's
all
not that
right.
great.
I mean,
It's all
I
right.
would say in my life, I have learned so much by listening to different op- opinions. Like I mean, in every aspect, professionally, politically, personally, if you can articulate what you want to say without being toxic, without like having a diatribe, without being nasty to someone, and on the other side, you're willing to hear somebody out, there's so much personal growth that
Yeah,
comes with
Yeah.
that. So I don't understand the logic. I mean, if I block somebody, it's because they've gone and like if you attack somebody and call them names or do some really vile stuff, I'm not going to have you on my timeline.
yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah.
Disagree on a
completely
lot of stuff.
understandable.
Yeah.
Completely understandable. I like if that was the case that that people only block people that are true idiots. Of course, that's fine. But like when it becomes like a systematic problem, like they are just blocking random people that they never interacted with, then it becomes a little bit like I'm just closing in. I'm just closing in. I'm just going to talk to people that agree with me.
Right.
And
And for every I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, you can continue. It's fine.
Sorry. But for every individual that you don't even know that you've blocked, I mean, it's easy online with such great numbers of people using these social media platforms. It's so easy to forget that each of those people are individuals with complex emotions and ideas and they matter. They matter. You know, it's just not worth it to me to just mass block people because that limits your field of perception. Like
Yeah.
you might as well just want to be in an echo chamber with people that only share your opinion and those are the only people worth interacting with, and that is just limiting. That's not doing any services for yourself.
It's
A lot of
boring.
people
as
do.
fuck.
It's boring. Yeah.
I mean,
Boring as fuck.
I think every person has the right to do whatever they want. If they want to block, that's fine. Like it's more like about the philosophy behind that, and I think that the philosophy behind that is a little bit. I don't know. It's a little bit sad because there's always good things that can come from interacting with a completely new person. I mean that it's all up to them if they want to do it. Like I don't have any grudges against them in that case. I just think it's limiting the possibilities that they can have. That's like it's a philosophical question. I think.
Our words are hard. I
Oh
do.
my god.
I do. I know it's so weird. Like I actually saw these French dudes that were trying to tell me. He's like, why does English have all these vowels you don't say? And I'm like, a French person's going to tell me that? Like, wait a minute. That's a whole nother tangent. I just want to make sure to point out to people mental health is really important. And if you need to
Yeah.
block people on social media to maintain that, or you need to take breaks, there's no shame in that.
Yeah,
And if
exactly.
you are somebody who struggled from a dark place from social media, we see you and we love you and we will not judge you. If
Yeah.
you want to create that echo chamber, that's all positivity, then that's
Right.
super fine to do. I just want to make sure to clarify we're
Yeah.
not.
that was
yeah,
a little
that's fine.
a little that direction I was going towards. But
Yeah.
yeah, you said it better. That's what I mean. Like
I
No, I
agree.
just wanted to make sure to clarify it.
I agree completely with that, but I'm mostly talking about people in a position of power that are blocking out parts of the community, maybe because they disagree with some stuff, but also using, like my brother says, these block chain programs and stuff. Because if you have power, there comes a lot of responsibility with it.
Don't you finish that sentence?
I had to.
What?
I had
It's from the Spider-Verse.
Yeah,
Don't
it's
you
Spider-Man.
finish that sentence?
I had to do
Great
it.
power comes responsibility.
That's what I thought he was trying to say. How do you say that in Swedish? Can you say that phrase for us in
No.
another language?
I'll try. med power. Med mycket makt kommer mycket ansvar. Något sånt.
Yeah, I guess
Nej,
it's all right.
It's not good.
It's all right. It's very hard when you're on the spot to translate like
Yeah.
that, but yeah, it's all right.
Med mycket ansvar.
Nej,
Med
med
mycket
mycket
makt
makt.
kommer mycket ansvar. It's hard.
Yeah,
It doesn't
these
sound as
translations are
good.
never that easy.
Yeah.
Does it? I mean, I assume this dynamic that we're talking about is, I mean, it's global, right? I mean, it affects everybody everywhere. It affects kind of all industries. So
Yeah, I would assume.
is there kind of any statement that you would have for somebody who maybe let's all do like a quick word of encouragement for all those smaller content creators? Like Julia said, when I decided to go like, fuck it, I'm going to play on YouTube, I really didn't think anybody would care what I had to say. It was honestly just fun. And my friends' 7-year-olds were like, can you play this game so I can see it? Like, but I just want to make sure that we all kind of get an opportunity to encourage people that are kind of like us and say, well, I don't, we are listening and we do hear you, and you really can. I love what Julia said. You can divorce that shit. You can get rid of it. You can remove it, and you can use your voice because somebody somewhere will hear you.
Yeah.
You guys don't have anything
I can
to add?
start. Maybe
Yeah.
I can start. I was in that position quite a while ago, where music was my passion, and I loved writing. So I tried to combine these things in a way. So I created my own music blog, and over the years, it became one of the biggest, most influential music blogs in Sweden, and quite influential, like globally too, because Sweden has a lot of great indie bands, and I wanted to encourage these bands to try to reach out and shine a light on them and share that to the world in a way. But I started very small. I started like no, I just wanted to write and talk to people about music, and then eventually it just grew bigger and bigger, and I had so many good people that were writing for the blog, and like we had a great reach, and I feel like we had an impact as well on globally, because many of the bands that I wrote about were picked up by Pitchfork and stuff like the big music magazines. So even if it was a small Swedish blog, it had a big reach. And I think that's
even
good for everyone on social media. You can have a big reach. You just need to start.
I mean, even today you get messages from people on your Facebook account for the blog
Every day.
that ask, "Can you write about us?" And you haven't been like writing music for like, I don't know, 6 years, 7 years.
Oh, I think it's 4 years, and I still get emails daily, and my that email box is full at all times.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
awesome.
like really stellar. That's incredible.
Yeah.
It was a journey. It was an amazing journey that created a lot of good things for me in life, in real life. I started out like living here in Gothenburg, like almost a recluse, you know. I didn't have much of a social life, but when I started doing that on the internet, I eventually got to places. Like I became a DJ. I DJed for 10 years. I started creating clubs and festivals. I had an amazing journey, and I am so grateful to myself for having the bravery to do that, because all of my life's greatest experiences in one way or another come from that. Even meeting my girlfriend kind of comes from that, because we met when I was DJing at like many years before we started hanging out at a club where I was DJing. So it's like you can have these amazing journeys. Each and every one can do that with their passions.
Well, you just got to start, right?
You have to
Right.
baby steps, and you can't judge yourself. That's the most important things.
Does anybody
Nice.
else think it's really cool that Gothenburg produces some amazing metal bands?
Yeah,
Like,
That's
what are
very
the?
cool.
It really is. Like, I love
Yeah.
Behemoth and Sister Sin. Like, I used to actually bounce
Yeah.
at a club that only had metal bands. I was like, oh, I
Nice.
love metal. I was like,
You
so
were a
many-
bouncer? That's pretty cool.
yeah, well, I got to go. I got to see free shows, and they
I
needed.
mean, that's all. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
because
amazing.
the men couldn't go in the women's bathroom, and they were trying to like mitigate drug use and fights and stuff like that.
Oh
They're-
yeah.
You can, because I'm big. I'm like 6'1", and I'm so like you can do that, and you can see all these free metal shows and help the bands move their equipment. And I'm like, absolutely. But Gothenburg has some amazing metal bands. I just love them.
Yeah.
It's just
you should come here, Crystal.
Yeah.
When-
Where I work, they had a club. I think it's closed now. But that was like a really good like metal club, and it was I think it was a like black club. So yeah, it wasn't legal, but yeah, it was very nice. Truck Stop Alaska, you know, that wasn't
Truck Stop
legal.
Alaska, world famous Gothenburg club for metal and punk and experimental music.
Yeah,
That
it was
sounds
so
awesome.
cool.
It's fucking
Yeah.
awesome.
But I don't think they have it anymore. Not that I
Yeah,
know of, at least.
I'm more into like power metal, like Sabaton.
Nice.
Oh,
It's good stuff.
I think they showed up some power metal bands as well
Yeah, that's
in
awesome.
that. But yeah, and yeah, for me, like I have similar experience to my brother. It's also about music. I started to write music when I was a little bit depressed, so started produce first just with my guitar and like some mic, and then just felt, nah, this is not me really. It just feels like I don't know, like a random person sitting somewhere and playing guitar and singing the same songs that everyone sings. So I started to produce some electronic music and try to create like to tell how the emotions that I felt through my life, like with the relationships that I've been through and like other things that I've gone through. And one day a person reached out to me and like said like a very personal letter about she being like very depressed, and she listened to my music. It always made her feel better, and like she could relate to that music so much. And like for me, that's like it's just one person, but for me that meant so much. And like I don't have a lot of people listening to my music, and I don't think that's the thing that I even need. I just found that interaction so meaningful, and that I actually affected someone's life with my music. That's the only thing that I needed here, and it was so amazing.
I think that's super powerful too, because you started just on your own journey with the only intention you had was I'm passionate about it, so I'm going to do it, and it affected so many people. And I think that's really important to talk about. I lost my brother a handful. He was 20. He would have been 24. He actually took his life a month before his 24th birthday. And I always wonder, what is that missing piece of content that he could have seen, or that missing thing I could have said that could have changed that? So I do think it's really awesome we talked about that message, because whatever you may have that power one day. You may be that content creator that saves one person's life, or you may be on the other side of that, and you may find a small content creator that helps you feel more at peace, or that helps you deal with stress, or that helps you deal with whatever issue that you're having. Because gaming has music, writing, character, animation. There's so many layers that are in gaming.
Right. And that's another thing. It's like it's the quality of interactions that you have with people and not necessarily the quantity. So even if you are like you're nervous about, having an audience of one person, you don't know what you mean to that one person. You have no idea. And it's like it's that quality. You don't need 1,000 followers or 2,000 people to feel like you're important. you're important to one person maybe, and
Yeah.
it's for me, I've never had like a huge following anywhere. But like I'm also musical and artistic. I play piano. I was a child opera singer. Like I've been a professional dancer. Like I do all kinds of things, but it's like I never had an opportunity to share those things with people that I'm passionate about because I was always too scared. I was always too like, oh, well, there's always somebody better than you. That's right. There's always going to be somebody better than you, but that is okay. That's all right. And it's okay if you start out from nothing, and
Yeah.
it's really about the quality of your content and the quality of the people. If you Twitch stream and you only maybe get like an average of 3 viewers, but they're just so into you and interacting with you, that's 3 friends. That's 3 people that
Yeah.
you think are awesome. So
That is so. It is so interesting to hear you say that you sang and played piano. Because I meant to tell you. Well, if you like metal, you might know who this is. You know what vibes I get from you? Maria Brink from In This Moment.
Oh, yeah.
And she like sings and does piano, and she's a writer, and she's artistic too. It's like, what are the odds? You're like our little Maria Brink.
Thank you.
I have to check that out.
In This Moment is so. Don't even get me. We're gonna go way off topic. I love them. They're my favorite bands. They're so good live. Everything about Maria is so ridiculously hot and like complex and just. Oh my
Well,
god!
I appreciate it.
So as we kind of wrap up, what is everybody's kind of closing thoughts or statements? What do you kind of want to say as we wrap up what we talked about in today's episode?
That you have power as a consumer, as a potential content creator, and if you are passionate enough, you need to follow those passions. And I think that you just need to just get your voice out there. If you get your voice out there, it just brings the community that much closer to something even more awesome than what it is. You can change the community with your voice.
Oh.
I think it's important to feel that like it's okay to sometimes make missteps and it's okay to fail sometimes. It doesn't mean that you have to give up. Every person has parts in their life where they feel down or where they don't think that they succeed or whatever. Like I don't think that's just a part of being a human. Like that's you do that sometimes, but you still can create stuff that are amazing. And even if other people don't find it amazing, it's the experience of actually doing it yourself that's important as well. Like just sitting and writing music for me can be like so good for my soul. And I like if you really enjoy making like YouTube videos, if you like to make music or write about game, which is the topic, just fucking do it. I mean, like, and whatever happens, happens. I think you shouldn't be afraid of putting yourself out there.
Okay.
Yeah, what I want to conclude with is I think that you can always take the baby steps when you're starting out and in a small format, and Twitter is really good for that. So if you're on Twitter and listening, you can start by trying to write the thoughts you have on certain things, whatever pops into your mind when you're reading like this scrolling through stuff. If you have a thought that damn, nobody is saying this, why? Just try to do it. Whatever you may think others will think of it. That showing small steps of bravery will take you a long way. And and that's what I want to end with. The small steps are very important.
And don't forget that it's okay to mess up.
Yes,
it's okay to like misstep. Nobody starts out with like the perfect everything. You get there. You don't start out that way. And the only way that you're going to get to that idea that you have in your head of what should your content be, the sooner that you can just make your way on it. Like just start out baby steps, like Boki said. It's okay to
Yeah.
mess up. It's okay to just be small for a while. Whatever comes to your head, just put it out there.
Yeah.
I think that
Or
many people are like this, like, oh shit, I have 20 or 50 followers. Oh, I'm so small. But 50 people, that's like a concert, a small concert hall.
Yeah, you know what?
Listen to you.
The other day I was thinking about making a Twitter post being like, oh man, I've got like 50 followers. But like, think about 50 people in a house.
Yeah.
Think about a house
Yeah.
party with 50
That's a
people.
party.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I would like that party.
Yeah.
If they're your friends, or like if the people that like you, 50 people that like you, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Imagine in older times, like who the fuck had like 50 people that liked them?
nobody.
Right.
Nobody.
If you are someone that doesn't want to go out and make content, you don't have to. I think most
Yeah.
people like to enjoy and they like to consume. Enjoy and consume your smaller creators. Find people that have the values that you have. Don't be afraid, like Julia said, to ask for accountability. If you ask for something, you're fucking worth it.
Yeah.
Totally. And I know in my life, I had a rough one. I've been through a lot. I measure my level of success by the people I have in it. And I have the best people in life, which means I did a lot of things right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally like understand your worth, because those people choose to click that button and follow you, and they choose to interact with you, and they choose to watch what you're doing. So like appreciate that and know you're really special because you get that, and give that to other people. If you see somebody
Yeah.
that's smaller and you appreciate their work, don't be afraid to say, hey, I appreciate your work. That means so much.
Yeah.
So
Uplift
Yeah.
people. If you enjoy somebody and their opinions and what they have to say, but they're small, help somebody out. Lift them up.
Yeah.
woo, hallelujah. All right, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. So thank you so much for being here again, Alex, Julia, and Boki. And I'll make sure that you guys get the links so you can follow them on Twitter if you're not already, in the comments below. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye bye.
You're amazing.